So this is the part of the video that I was gonna do in my update video of what I've been reading. I mostly just talk about like the library books that I've been in the middle of, because when I get library books I end up focusing most on them. And I did talk about some of the other books I'm kind of in the middle of, and mentioned how I tried to do Booktober and also read some other like more Halloween-esque books, but so far that has fallen totally apart. And I mentioned that I'm probably not going to do TBRs anymore, because I just, like most booktubers, I'm a bit of a moon reader, and I'm also a bit scatterbrained when it comes to what I read. So I jump from book to book quite a bit. So I'm just gonna, whatever book I decide to pick up after I finish up the book I'm currently reading. One of my other big problems is that, if I'm reading historical fiction or a literary book, or, oh, that reminds me of another book I need to take off of here, or I'm reading like a classic or something, sometimes those books are where is it? Where's that book? Oh, I need this one. And I need this one. Oh wait, no, I wasn't gonna do that one. Yeah. I decided. First I need this one. I didn't grab that. I think this is the one. And I'm not gonna be bothered with getting that one. Where is it? There's one more book I wanted to grab off of here. I'm trying to think. What other? Dang it. Problem is, I can't. Oh, hi, Rascal. Oh, I think it's over. Okay. My dog's in the way. Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm disappearing. Oh, let me as well show that one too. Let's see. Here it is. That's not the one though. I'm in the middle of this one too. And there's two more. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, guys. Problem with having this chair where it is, I can't. It's totally in the way. Sorry, the problem having the chair where it is, it's in the way of my bookshelf. So yes, I want the books in the shot, but sometimes all of a sudden I'll remember other books that I wanted to grab, and I forgot them earlier. And of course you want to get let out conveniently. Okay. Alright. Go on. I'm really trying to avoid making this video too long, but there are so many interruptions. And I'm really hoping one of them won't be my dad calling me downstairs, because he's ready to eat. Almost lost my balance. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to avoid hitting the wall. Oh, dang it. Okay. Alright. This is really an inconvenient place. Sorry, okay. Alright, I'm all settled now, I think, hopefully. Of course, watch when my dog's scratching the door. So I'm going to start with sharing with you guys my library book. The only other library book that I did not mention that I need to start is Children of Blood and Bone by Tony Adeyemi. This is a book that was a booktube darling, and I have been hearing a lot about this book. And it has a really cool magic system, and I think it's African lore, I think, or African inspired. And I think, and obviously this, if you watch my little library haul. I don't know if I actually called it a library haul or not, but this was a book that that I talked about there. And I cannot wait to read it. I'm really excited to read this book. And that I'm bringing that one up because that's the only library book here that I have not talked about. Okay, I had this whole thing organized, but I realized it's far away from me. So how am I gonna do this? I thought I was being smart and all, but this is really, I placed these books in a really inconvenient place. Okay, well, I'll just I'll figure it out as I go. I just might have to make a part 2 to this video. This is another book that I'm thinking about reading. As you can see, I've already started. The Essex Servant by Sarah Perry. It was written in modern times, but it's kind of written like a Victorian novel from what I remember. It has deckled edges, which I am a fan of. I'm one of those people who does like deckled edges. It's like this widow. It's about this widow who, her husband just died, so she takes her son to Scotland with her, and they hear about this infamous Essex Servant, and they decide to go check it out with the help of this guy, who I'm guessing becomes the love interest for this woman. And I imagine people are going to react to that, especially knowing that she's a widow. People are not going to like that she's moved on already. So I want to read that one. As soon as I looked, I remember this book, The Lonely Hearts Hotel. This was one of those award winner books, or like a book that was nominated. And from what I know, it's like about these 2 orphans who became friends, and then I think they end up falling in love at some point as adults. And that's all I really know. I don't want to say anywhere because I don't want to just reading the back. Like I said, I don't want this video to be super long. I mean, this might end up going into 2-part videos. I mean, I try to avoid those. But when I do these little videos where I share the books I'm reading or that I want to read, they end up being really long because like as I'm doing right now, I talk a lot. But anyway, so I want to read this one as well. I've been thinking about this one, but I might save this one for later. Maybe at least for January. I don't know. I have to save at least some of the books that I'm excited about, and save some of them for next year at least. So this might be for 2019 in January. And both of those are adult books. This was one of the books I was thinking about reading for October because it's like about this. It's a Kate Morton book, and if you've read Kate Morton, she tends to do books where her stories are kind of like they're like mysteries that take place in the past, and this modern woman usually, finds a little tidbit on this event that happened in the past, and she starts investigating it, and you get her story, but you also get the story of what happened back then in a lot of her books, and it's always some kind of mystery, like something really tragic happened. And this one, I think there's like she finds that her mom is connected to these women who lived in this castle. And it's very kind of a gothic inspired story. And I remember it's been, believe it or not, I have read all of Kate, well, not The Clockmaker's Daughter. That one I think just came out, and I haven't read that one yet. I haven't bought it yet, but it is on my Amazon wish list. This was a book, but believe it or not, I read these, so I should know what they were about, but it has been a long time since I read them, and that's why I want to reread them. But my only thing about rereads is that I feel bad because I have bought so many other books that I have not read, and I also want to read the books that I've had for a long time that I feel like I've neglected, that I need to read them. But then, like I said, I buy new books that I get really excited about, so it's very hard for me to do rereads. It's nothing to do with not wanting to do them or having something against them. It's just feeling guilty about all the other books that I have not read. So I do want to reread this one, and I intend to read in October, but who knows if that will happen. I mean, maybe I'll just be like, hell with it, and just go ahead and start it. And then 2 other books I intended to read in October. I thought were perfect October reads were, this is another reread, The Night Circus, and, another BookTube darling, which it's funny because I think I read this I know, in fact, I read this long before I joined BookTube. This was like years ago, like maybe early high school when I read this book, and I just fell in love with it back then, and I haven't read it since, but then I realized it's a BookTube darling. A lot of people on BookTube love it, or it's even, actually, no, it's more, I think it's also kind of one of those controversial reads where you love it or you hate it. And I'm one of those people that I remember loving it, so I want to reread it again, just to see if that still takes. But I just remember really loving this book. And I don't remember everything that happened in the book. I just know that it's a bit of a love story where these 2 people are being trained to battle against, these 2 magicians are being trained to battle against each other, and then by accident they end up meeting and falling in love. But it's also about the traveling circus that they're part of. And the circus is like, it comes every night, and no one knows it's gonna come. It has a black, white, and red theme, and it's just the way, from what I remember. Of course, this might just because from what people have have said, that the way the author Erin Morgenstern describes the circus, it's like you can really imagine yourself there. You can really see yourself in this place. You can taste it. You can smell it. You can, see it. All your senses are on fire because her descriptions are so amazing. And I mean, I think the writing style is what I fell most in love with, because I think I'm a plot-driven reader. Which, so, I want to reread this one. And the other book I wanted to read this October, which maybe I should just go ahead and start this one. Should be another one that I should be like, what the hell, I'm going to go start it. And that is Stalking Jack the Ripper. It is part of a series. It's a James Patterson Presents. Now, it's kind of like what Rick Riordan is doing, where he has his own publishing company, I guess, now, and he'll pick authors that he wants to represent. And this is about this woman in the 1800s who, it's kind of, I feel like it's a very familiar story, and that, or at least the main character story, can be a little cliche, but I think it's the details that make it a little different. And from what I already know, she's kind of obsessed with Jack the Ripper, and he's right now, this is during the time he's killing people, and of course, as a woman during this time, it's not, her behavior and her passion for science and is not acceptable. So I want to read this, and I might just go in, and after this video, I might be like, what the hell, I'm going to start this book. But those are 2 other books that I need to start that I wanted to start this month, but haven't got around to yet. And those are both, one of them, Stalking. That's the problem with doing videos right now. When I have a cold, it's hard to talk. Those are both, one of them is an adult, and the Stalking Jack the Ripper is a YA book. And see, originally my plan was to organize this and share all the books that are, all the YA books I need to read, and then all the adult books I need to read, and all the classics I need to read, But this kind of threw me off here. Okay, and also the books aren't that close to me, so I'm going to have to get up anyway and show them to you. Okay, I also want to start The Winter People, which, as you can see, I already started it. And I don't even remember what it's about without looking in the bag. But this was one of the booktubers that I like watching, she talks about how great this book is. So I saw it at the bookstore one time, and I was like, I have to buy this book. So, in a way, I do kind of cave and and am influenced by BookTube. But it's more Pacific booktubers, not necessarily BookTube hype. Like, just because a book is popular on BookTube doesn't mean I'll actually go, I might get it from the library if there's aspects of it that I like the Upside of Unrequited. Now I remember the title, The Upside of Unrequited. That one I got from the library. And the same thing with Children in Blood and Bone, as I showed earlier at the start of this video. So, I don't even remember what this book is about, but I definitely am trying to read more adult books, and more literary books. So, this one is one of those books that I want to read. And then, I stumbled upon this book series. I hate when that happens. At the used bookstore, I saw this book, and then there were 2 other books, and I guess in a way it was a cover buy, which I know once you see the picture you guys will be like, why? And here it is. And so, like, the orcs are always the bad guys. You never see the orcs as the good guys. They're always the lackeys. And this is from the perspective of the orcs. Now, I did read the reviews on Goodreads. I read some of them, and some of them are very negative. The first few are very negative and saying, oh, this is so cliche, and there's nothing special about this book, and, the writing's very generic, blah, blah, blah. But I'm still going to pursue it. The first 4 chapters, or first 3, because I stopped chapter 4, because, as I've said in the past, I have this thing where I have to stop at even chapters. And so far it's pretty interesting, I mean, I still kind of picture the characters as humanoids, but yeah, it's actually it's very dark and a bit disturbing, and it's definitely not middle grade, and it might be considered YA, but, I mean, in one of the first scenes, the queen of the orcs kidnaps the humans, who are seen as the enemies, and she gives him an aphrodisiac so he'll get hard, and so that he'll eventually, while he's having sex with her, she can stab him and rip out his heart and eat it. So that's definitely not appropriate for kids. It's not super, of course it's not, but it was so it's definitely not of that. But it's so funny when, with the people that work there, it's a lot of older women. So they were a little they definitely had an opinion and were commenting on this. I mean, they were familiar with the Lord of the Rings, so they made a reference to Lord of the Rings with the orcs. So one of them was at least had some idea what orcs were. And yeah, but it's just very funny when you get books like this at that used bookstore. They see the cover. I mean, I've had books with I got I actually have it here in this pile somewhere. I got a book. I started reading, Sarah Waters. And one of the covers is a little bit provocative. And one of the clerks said, very interesting book. So, yeah, it's very interesting when I buy books. But yeah, I mean, it was just, it caught my attention. It was like, oh, I would like to see that. I'm kind of curious. What would the orcs' perspective be like? Now, like I said, though, when I'm reading them, I'm picturing them as humans, even though they're not. They're not supposed to look humanoid. And I also have this is a bind up, actually, this particular one. And then I have the other ones from the other series in the same universe and all that stuff. And, god damn it, I hate this chair. I love it, but I also hate it. It moves too much. I also started reading The Lies of Locke Lamora, finally, by Scott Lynch. One of my favorite booktubers, Sam from Thoughts and Tomes, absolutely loves the series, so I finally started this. And this, thankfully, is one of the books that I can bring with me to work, because it's short. It's, not short, but it's size-wise. It's a mass market paperback, so That's one of the appeals of mass market paperbacks for me, is that I can shove them in my lunchbox and bring them with me to work, so that if I have to wait, or, sometimes if it's quiet enough in the break room, sometimes I can read a little bit during my break. And then I just remembered that I also read this one. This was another booktube. Another one of my favorite booktubers loved. It's one of their favorite books. Reagan's favorite book, actually. This was this was another purchase at the used bookstore, and it's kind of like from what what I got from reading this description. It kind of reminds me of it's kind of like they're like the men of letters from the show Supernatural, except for less douchebaggy. In fact, our main character is a woman. So I want to read that one. And then the next two books are two YA books that I need to get started on. This is another Reagan from Peru's Projects book. As in one that she's talked about several times. And this is the first book in the Seven Realms series. This is the first book. It has the plastic cover because it was a library book. The Demon King. And I don't know much about it, and I don't want to waste time trying to figure out how to give you guys a brief description about it. Which I know a lot of people don't like that, because then what's the point? But, and plus my cold is making it hard for me to talk clearly. I want to take this plastic off, and I don't know how to do that. I don't want to ruin the actual covering, but who knows? Maybe I'll ask my dad to help me with that. That's what I might do tonight. I might real quick. I don't know. I might not, because he's feeling sick. He's worse than me. But there's that one I want to read. The Rook also has that same problem. The plastic covering, because it was a library book originally. And then I also want to start reading. I want to get back into Cassandra Clare's books. I do have the Bane Chronicles, and I need to continue. I keep debating, going back and forth, if I want to continue that series or not, because the books, the little short stories are they're entertaining, but I'm starting to lose interest in them. I feel bad, but so I keep debating if I'm just gonna get through it or not. But I do want to eventually get to Lady Midnight, but first I have to read Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy before I can do that. At least that's what I remember being told. Because it would spoil. But then I'm also someone who gets really annoyed if someone's like, I'm not gonna tell you, it's a spoiler. It's cute when River Song says it, but it's not cute when, you just want to know. And they're like, oh, you have to read the book or watch the movie. Or else I don't want to spoil it for you. But anyway. But I'm definitely going to read the Tales from Shadowhunter Academy, because my sister got that for me for last Christmas, so I feel like I kind of have to. Not that I'm not interested, but, if I did fall in love with Cassie Clare completely, then, yeah. So, anyway. So, I gotta read this one. And then, here's the, let's see, how much, let me do a couple more books. And then I'll stop, and then just do part 2, which I was trying to avoid, but this is what happens. Okay, well, I gotta read Well of Ascension, the second one, and I'm pretty far. I'm halfway through. I'm almost to part 3, I think, of this one. So, I should actually read this one tonight. Yeah, I should start reading this one tonight, because I think I'm almost on part. I think I am almost on part 3. Yeah, so I should just go ahead and finish this up tonight. Not finish the whole book up, but at least finish up part 2. I should go ahead and do that tonight. Okay, but I also want to read this Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. And I almost for a second gave up on this because another booktuber I absolutely trust and love said that they didn't like it, and they said it read like a Victorian novel. Literally, a little too much. And I gotta admit, like, honestly, I have read some of it, and it does kind of read like one, which I find a little endearing, but at the same time, it can be hard and very slow. And I already have enough trouble with Victorian novels, but I'm going to continue with it. I'm not going to let BookTube retire. I'm not going to let my favorite booktubers entirely influence my choices. Sometimes I want to like figure these. And this one I'm actually still kind of interested in. And some of the chapters are kind of short anyway. So, yeah. And then, let's do a few more books. I think, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and read this one too. I mean, I was trying to wait until the third book comes out, but who knows when that's going to happen. And this is The Wise Man's Fear. This is the second book in the Kingkiller Chronicles, which is basically about this famous wizard or whatever, and he's has done so many great things. He's defeated many monsters, stolen all our women's hearts. He's just so popular in this world, and as of right now, he's officially, in the present day, he's retired, running a tavern, and this famous chronicler shows up, and is like, you know, I've heard so many stories about you, and you are a famous legend, and I want to know more about you. So, after this, something happens. He decides, the guy, Quoth is his name, he decides, you know what, fine, I'll tell you, chronicler, all about my life, but I'm only telling you within a period of 3 days. So, book 1, The Name of the Wind, is the first day, and this is the second day, and the third book will be the third day. So, this is another book I'm thinking about reading, and this is another book that I could actually take with me. Now, the problem is that with the third book, when it comes out, it won't be in this edition. It will be in a regular trade paperback edition first, and it will be a while before it becomes the mass market. And I don't want to wait. And if you see my collection, you see my collection behind me. It's not exactly, I have a lot of different sizes books. So, because it doesn't bother me, because then if I am so anal about that, then I would have to wait a long time, and to get the next book, especially in a series. So, I'm not gonna, so I just, I really don't, I'm not as bothered by it. And then I also want to continue with this book, Royal Assassin. This is the second book in the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. This is a book that Sam, from Sam's Nonsense, she absolutely loves Robin Hobb books in this particular series, and I finally decided to jump on the bandwagon and read this series. I loved the first book, and now I'm on the second book, so I'm gonna keep going with that one. This is basically about this kid named Fitz, who is, he is the bastard son of one of the princes, and the king finally takes notice of him and fosters him with the Sable Master, whose name escapes me at the moment. And then he also decides to train this boy with Shade, who is the king's assassin. And he also tries to teach. He also tries to have Fitz learn the skill, which is kind of a mind reading type of thing, but that doesn't work out. But he is learning to take care of animals, and he has a bit of affinity with animals, because we also learn that he doesn't have the skill, but he does have the wit, which is basically you connect with animals, but there's the risk that you will become more beast than man. And so it's like so learning how to be an assassin. He's developing his ability with the wit, and he kind of does have some. He kind of can do the skill, but not very good. But anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna read those as well, and I'm going to stop there for now. And if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe. And I hope, as always, you are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!